So I've got this box of pins that I need to replace for a customer, and this is not a big deal. It's just replacing the pins in their lift assembly down here at a couple of them there, a couple of them over there, some on the bottom, etc., etc. So this Liftgate, this isn't really what the video is about, by the way. These pins I just thought were pretty cool, the way they've got the machine with the the grease fitting and the groove in there, and they've got a bushing that goes inside. So it's a standard split bushing, but it's got some sort of like bronze mesh inside instead of an old school bronze, like a oil impregnated or something. You can see in here, there's a mesh to capture the grease. Really nice. This will do a great job of keeping the dirt out of their pins in here and keep them lasting longer. Okay, but what the video is really about is these arms. What had happened is the gate, I'll raise it up so you can see here. Okay. Okay, you see where the gate sits right at the edge, and it joins the rear bumper perfectly. And it's actually level. It's not sitting on a downhill right here, but there's a small slope down, which is intentional in there. This is for their mowers. They use their lawn mowers on and off here. They got some ramps that hook into these brackets here that let them load zero-turn mowers on. Okay, so here's their assembly after we repaired it. You see it's sitting normally just like it should, slight downhill, everything's good. They might want that adjusted, but they're going to wait and see if anything changes. But what was happening is this ramp was dropping and dropping and dropping. So they had somebody go through and add some padding, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, so right down in here, okay, this is on the ramp, and it's a foot that catches on a pad right here, okay? And that's what sets the angle of the ramp, okay? So their ramp had been sinking, so they had somebody adding pads to bring their ramp back up. Well, finally they got to a point where it failed. And I've got a picture of it. I'll try to find it and insert it in the video here. But basically this ramp just folded, just like this with a mower on it. So what had really happened was these arms right here that we repaired, this one and the inner arm, and you can see on that side there's the inner arm over here, there's a pin down there, pin, the outer arm, and a pin up here. So this front and rear pin, I'm sorry, this top and bottom pin and those front and rear pins it's a parallelogram, so they're the same distance apart front to back, top and bottom, as they are vertically. All right, so what happens is as you raise and lower the deck, it keeps the position of the deck relatively stable. So as you can see, I had to add these plates onto here. What had happened after tearing this whole thing apart to find out why their deck was dropping so much, these arms stretched. This piece here, this toe that comes up, had pivoted out, and the bottom down here would come straight along, and then it would just dive down like this. So this hole and that hole both moved about 3/4 of an inch that direction, and down probably about 1/2 inch. So totally throwing off the geometry of this parallelogram that's needed for the lift. So originally this was discovered because they brought that in for a small crack right here. So there was a crack right in this spot, and there was a little crack on the other side. So we ground those out and re-welded them, and he asked me to add another pad. So I did add another pad to that section. Can't see this side over there, that pad right there, to raise the gate back up. Well, after welding the cracks and putting the pad on, the gate was still folding. That's when I started investigating into what was going on with this whole lift mechanism here and finding out that these pins had moved. Called the manufacturer to get the specifications on all these positionings and confirmed, yeah, 3/4 of an inch forward and about 1/2 inch down. So what we did is cut these in half right here on both sides, cut out the metal. It had stretched 3/4 of an inch, obviously. So we had to cut all that metal out, bevel them and re-weld them, and then I put these plates back on here because I don't know how far the stress had gone previously, and obviously that's a proven failure for the way that they were using the system. And here's a picture after the repair, but before removing the additional padding they had placed for that deck. So you can see how much lift was put on there from those arms stretching over time. Once we removed that, it was sitting level as shown in the beginning of this video. Just thought I'd throw in that picture for you guys to get a chuckle.